Welcome back to this Wednesday's all-new 3 Good Minutes. Today I'm going to talk about confirmation bias. Now, this is one of the terms we have all heard about in the past few years, especially in the context of heightened political divisions and claims of fake news and the rise of conspiracy theories. In her recent book entitled Slant, Lori Wagner, a Christian, writes, "No matter what side of the political spectrum we are on, we want to know how others cannot see the truth or facts that are right in front of them." Interestingly, this inquiry comes from both sides of that divide. Wagner goes on to say, "The answer is simpler and yet more complex than we might imagine. Cognitive bias itself can be hard enough to recognize, but when compounded by other factors such as crowd influence, peer pressure, relational alignments, media influence, and environment, things get complicated indeed." Now, what cognitive bias means is essentially that our core motivations, identity, ideologies, our wishes, hopes, and even our fears combine to create an inclination toward believing what we want to hear over what we don't. Although human beings are most certainly capable of rational thinking, we know that even science contains elements of bias. For example, up until recently, medical science considered studies upon white males as normative. Bias, you see, is part of our human condition. It's the way our brains process not only information, but our relationship to our reality. We all operate out of a kind of root identity or worldview, and this view contributes to what we are willing or not willing to believe. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning. Our brains tip toward accepting something is true if we want to believe it. So whenever someone tells you they are completely objective and even do their own research, even from primary or good sources, be very wary. We all approach life fully loaded, formed by a combination of nature and nurture. So what can the honest Christian do? Foremost, we can have humility and become aware of our own confirmation bias. Our research can and should delve into areas that pose challenges to the beliefs we are apt to hold, because other perspectives deserve our careful consideration. We can ask tough questions about our own positions, including, are they coherent, and what do statistics say about them? As a pastor, I particularly like to ask myself, how much biblical support does an issue have? And most importantly, what would Jesus say about it? I also think it's valuable to participate in meaningful and intentional dialogue with people of all backgrounds and perspectives, because it's often said that heresies develop in isolation, especially with theologians who neglect accountability from the broader Christian tradition and their communities of faith. Opportunities abound in our churches, interfaith groups, and even our book clubs for civil, meaningful discussion on a variety of issues. We are at our best when we listen closely to one another and hear other perspectives. We must also ask ourselves this: do we want to know the truth, or do we merely want to be right? Hopefully the former. Amen.